sing Amazing Grace for you out back later. But I think our party can be about more things than just the social values. That is a strong part of our party, but not everyone comes to our party for social values. Tea Party came to our party for economic values. Controlling spending, reducing debt. Liberty Republicans are in our party because they want freedom. They want government off their backs. There is a seat at the table for every constituency in the party. If I'm fortunate enough to be selected as state party chair, there will be a place for people at the table. Only by working together can we ensure that Texas is going to be red for many, many years. We've had great successes. But frankly, I'm not as worried about 2016 as I am worried about 2026. We've got to engage more people in our party, minorities, young people, folks that care deeply, but they come to the party for many different reasons. If I'm selected to be your state chairman, I will do that. I will work with groups across the spectrum to ensure that our party stays strong. I will leverage my relationships in fundraising. I'll use my experience in dealing with the media and social media. We can keep Texas red, but we need the right leader, ladies and gentlemen. I would ask for your vote today. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, as Steve Atwell told you, the SREC is going to be the ones that make the decision on who's going to be our interim chairman. 16 months from now, many of you in this room will be at the state convention, which will be May of 2016, where we will elect a permanent chairman for the next 2 years. So what we're doing today is not only giving input to the SREC, but exposing these gentlemen who likely would run, either irrespective of who winds up as the interim chairman. You may see these gentlemen run again when you get to make the vote and the decision. But barring a dark horse candidate, which at this point is unlikely because of the time frame, we're talking about March the 7th, one of these four gentlemen will be your next state chairman. We're going to go to questions. We're going to rotate the order. I'm going to start here with Tom, and we'll move that way. The next question we'll start with Everett Wade and come back this way, and we'll mix it up. So I'll tell you what order we're going to go in the questions. We'll start our county chairman, Jennifer Hall.
What do you consider to be the four most important functions of the RPT chair?
Tom?
Okay. Now it's on. Let me just tell you, first of all, I think that the most important thing is it's basically the chairman's the CEO of the Republican Party. He oversees the operations, day-to-day operations, but he does it with the oversight of the state Republican Executive Committee. The chairman's obviously the face of the party with respect to the public, and a representative of the RNC. But I'm throwing all those in. But the most important thing is basically leading the party in a direction according to the direction that the SREC has set, and having a vision about where we are going to go next and what initiatives are going to be taking place. I know it was mentioned earlier, and I agree 100% about minority engagement. The party has made a lot of progress in the last 4 years. As chairman of the Republican Party, we will continue to take that level even higher, and also with respect to the young people, so critical to be one that drives that initiative. So, thank you.
Well, I think there are four things and a lot more that are very important. Let's talk about one, speaking to the issues. I mean, when you're elected as state party chair, you speak for the folks that elected you at that convention. You speak for the same folks that created that party platform. They expect you to defend that party platform because they're not going to have the microphone put in their face. They elected you to be that voice and to be that very strong voice. And so that means addressing the platform from the first page all the way down to the 39th page. That means addressing the preamble of that platform and the 11 points that are summarized as very key and important factors. So you need to be that solid, strong, conservative voice and not water down that message. Secondly, raising money. We need to be a party that has cash, a party that can actually grow. We can't be a party that's in debt. We need to be a party that is very strong when it comes to our financials. Thirdly, organization. I think we're going to have to be a party that goes to you. We can't just be holed up in Austin, Texas. There are folks in West Texas, East Texas, South Texas that want the party to come to them. And if we are going to be the party for 27 plus million Texans, we are going to have to go to your community, your neck of the woods. So I think we need regional infrastructure all over the state. And finally, we're going to have to grow. We're going to have to grow in the minority community, but we're going to have to grow in the evangelical churches. We got 80 million evangelical Christians out there right now. 40 million are registered. Only 20 million vote in a presidential election and 10 in a gubernatorial election. We need to get those folks out of the pews and to the voting box.
Important thing in our party, number one, I would say growing the party. We have to grow the party with integrity and with honor, and we have to make sure that people understand what we believe and why we believe it. Number two, I believe that we have to represent our conservative values, like I mentioned in the points just before. We have to make sure that the activists who elected us at the convention, the activists on the SRAC, make sure that their values and their ideals are represented. And Texas is a conservative state. Our activists are the most conservative of the conservative. And so we have to make sure that the party tier stands strong on those conservative issues. That's number two. Number three is fundraising and managing the party. Like Tom was saying, the chairman is the CEO of the party, and so it's very important, it's a vital function that we raise money and keep the party afloat. Make sure we keep the party in the black, and make sure that we raise a lot of money, develop those relationships with donors, which I have, and continue to do that. So that's also another vital function of the party. Number four, I think, is engagement, and that's another part of growth as well. Engaging faith groups, engaging minority groups, engaging liberty groups, engaging folks all across the state, and making sure that we rebrand our party to where our party is seen for who it is, which is giving folks and Christian folks and people who care. So I think those are the four most important points.
Step one, raise money. Money's not the only thing, but nothing else happens if you don't have a functioning party. We can only look back 5 years ago to see that a party without the resources is not going to be very effective. Secondly, we need to grow the party. And that means grow the party with different interest groups, different constituencies, whether it's the Tea Party groups or the Libertarian groups or the social conservative groups or the young people. We have a lot of young people here today who are here supporting me because they know we can capture the younger voters. Three, we need to elect Republicans through a commitment to grassroots. In Dallas County, when I took over, we really didn't have much of a grassroots program. We rebuilt it from the ground up and included both Tea Party folks and Liberty folks and longtime precinct chairs, kind of the old school guard, and everybody worked together for a common goal. And then finally, I think it's the job of the chairman to be a spokesperson for the party. He or she has got to be able to stand in front of the cameras, go on the radio, handle the reporters when they stick the microphone in your face. I've done that for 3.5 years. In Dallas County, North Texas, it's the 5th largest media market in the nation. I've lived in the fishbowl for the last 3.5 years. I even have my own radio show. So raise money, grow the party, commitment to grassroots, and be an advocate for the party. Those are the important things.
On this question, we're going to start with 4 with Wade and come back this way. Mr. Collins.
First, thank all of you for being here today. There's legislation, I believe it's pending in Austin now regarding marijuana. I have a 2-part question. First, have you ever used it? Second, would you be in favor of legalizing marijuana for medicinal purposes?
The answer to both those questions is no. I've never smoked marijuana, I've never done any illicit drugs or anything like that. Legalizing medical marijuana, it's not something that I am comfortable with right now. I might get to a point if I can be convinced that there's some safeguards in place for society, but I'm not there yet. I see what happened in Colorado. I see that while there may be some value to the medicinal aspects of some of the characteristics of marijuana, I think we as a country haven't haven't come to the understanding how best to use that, and certainly in a public environment. And so I would be opposed to that, but I would say that I would keep an open mind, and there may be at some point in the future some way as we as a society learn better to regulate that, then I'll consider it. But at this point, I'm opposed to it.
I am very proud to be able to say no to those questions as well. I think that as a physician and just as someone who cares about our society, I'll tell you, and my reason for being in opposition to medicinal marijuana is because there are medical forms that exist now in the pill form that is prescribed routinely for folks who are anorexic and not able to eat much, and so we do that to sort of give them the munchies, if you will. And so it is very effective. But I'll tell you, I think that I look at the African American community, and I'll tell you, a lot of these issues that we talk about legalizing and such, they affect the lower socioeconomic classes more than they affect anyone else. And that's what it's going to affect. That's what it's going to impact. That's what it's going to harm. I'll tell you, if you have widespread use of marijuana, I'll tell you, that will be destructive to our society, and it's going to affect disproportionately those communities that we're trying to engage. I just think that would be just anathema to me. I don't think that that's something that we can do. I think it would cause great harm. I actually went and spoke, after it passed out of the temporary platform committee, I actually went back and spoke to the permanent platform committee to try to get that reversed once that was passed throughout the temporary platform committee. And so I'm on record as being in opposition to that. And so as a physician, I certainly get that 1-0. Thank you very much. I was counting his fingers.
Well, the answer is no to both of those questions, and I'm 100% opposed to the legalization of marijuana. I mean, think about the message that we'd be sending our young people. The message we'd be sending to our kids, whether they be in elementary, intermediate, high school, or college. We're saying, look, it's okay to take this mind-altering substance. And it starts with that. And then what's next? It doesn't get you where you need to be. So, hey, let's try cocaine. Or let's try heroin. And so I believe it's a gateway drug. And do we really want an America where our teachers, our bus drivers, our parents, those that we work with every single day, may be coming to work high? I don't think that's the America that we see for ourselves. I don't think that's the America that we envision for our children. And when you go and you look at the studies and the harmful health effects associated with marijuana, I don't think it's something that we look forward to for the health of our young people. And so I realize and I know that there is a movement, even amongst our own party, to move forward with medicinal marijuana. And to some folks just saying it should be legal, I'm opposed to that. Because I don't think we look forward 10, 20, 30 years right now. Do we want America where we go to the grocery store and you purchase pot off the shelf? That's not the America I envision for us. I don't envision an America that is addicted to mind-altering substances. So my answer would be no.
Well, first of all, let me say I've never used marijuana or any illegal drugs, so we put that on the record. I'm actually the guy that chaired the debate at the platform committee at the state convention. Many of you in this room probably were in that debate, and with respect to the question of medical marijuana. And it came down to a 15-15 vote. There was a lot of passionate discussion. There were mothers who had lost their children to suicide because they did not have a way to manage the effects of their illnesses. And the question came to me, it's 15-50, it's going to fall, it's going to fail. And so I made the decision as the chairman of that committee to vote in favor, not because I support medical marijuana, but because I felt like the issue was so important that the permanent platform committee needed to be the one that made that decision. And so I voted in favor of that to send it to the permanent platform committee. And I felt, and Dr. Armstrong, I'm sure would remember, I approached him afterwards behind the stage and said, didn't you tell me one time that there are medical alternatives to that? He said, yes, there is. I said, would you come speak to the platform committee? I think that's information that would be important to the committee to understand and to have that. So that's why I appreciate him coming, and we did accommodate him and had him speak right away, and so he could continue on his schedule. But let me tell you, folks, it needs to be discussed. I'm grateful it came up in the platform committee, and I'm very, very grateful that the young people have a chance, not just young people, but some of the parents that also had kids that had passed away were able to articulate their positions on it. Thank you.
take the questions, starting with Jared, running down to Wade, and coming back to Tom for this one. Julie McCarty?
Thank you. Do you believe that the Republican Party of Texas needs to be involved politically in local elections, particularly in major cities? If so, why and to what extent?
Well, absolutely, and I'll speak from personal experience. Most of you know we're having a big battle in Houston, Texas against our mayor. This is a mayor who has worked to push what she calls the equal rights ordinance. It's anything but equal. We call it the unequal rights ordinance. Who would have thought we would be at a time in the life of our country, in our state, in my city, where I would have to fight and stand up for whether or not a biological male should be able to walk into a female restroom or a female locker room. But that's the battle that we're fighting in Houston, Texas right now against a radical lesbian liberal mayor who is doing everything she can to push her social agenda upon the folks of the city of Houston. We petitioned our government under our city charter, gathered 55,000 signatures, only needed 17,269 in 30 days. Turned them in, and this government, this mayor, and her city attorney said, not good enough, even though the city secretary said we had well above that 17,269. And we've been in court for the past 2 weeks now, fighting this mayor. And along the way, she's used the subpoena power of government to go after pastors. She has used the subpoena power, she has used government to try to prevent us from having our 7th Amendment freedom to right to trial by jury. And just recently, when I was on trial, testifying against her in the case Woodville v. Parker, she went after me and my family, trying to argue that we had somehow not signed the petition. So we know that the radical left will do everything they can to push their agenda on us, and our party needs to stand up to them every time they raise their head, and if that's at the city level, we need to be there.
I live down just south in southern Harris County, so I want to applaud Jared for the work that you're doing there as well. I mean, I think, I'll tell you, with the party being involved with these issues, in an issue so egregious such as that, I think the party really has to make a stand on that. We really have to be involved in that. And you know, there was a time where I would have said no to your answer, because I just think the party really needs to organize and keep unity and stand for those conservative issues. But now liberals and the left have become so radical in their belief system. They've become so radical that I really think that culturally it would really destroy our society to let them have free reign. So I think the party really needs to engage on those issues now, especially more than ever, especially with this crazy issue that's going on in Houston right now. And so I think we just have to engage, because if we don't engage, then we're going to find that we're not going to have any say. People aren't going to listen to us about any issue if we don't engage the most important issues of our day. And the most important issues of our day today oftentimes are taking place locally. And so I tell folks in these city council races that, look, you need to be involved in those city council races, because those are people who are going to affect your life day to day. And that is a farm team as well for the Democrats. I mean, those folks are going to run for governor later, they're going to run for Senate later, and so I think it's important that we are involved and at least, cut off some of their prime folks that they have at the government, at the local level. So, thank you.
We got 3 vehicles parked in front of a 7-Eleven, and the manager's going to have them towed away. Silver Chevy FDK 3457, a Kia TDL 227, and a Lexus CL3 Z016. If those are your vehicles, it would be best to move them a little bit. If you want to, unless you want to get a ride home from somebody.
Well, if they tow your vehicle, we'll get the Republican Party involved to locally issue that. But I think this is an interesting question, because it really makes you decide what the role of the RPT is. I think it is very important for the RPT to engage in issues like that are values issues. I think it's equally important for the party to get involved in economic issues. These school districts with property tax rates that are going through the roof. I think the party has a role in that as well. I think the party has a role not just locally by supporting local candidates and local issues. We have a role in supporting the local elected officials as they fight back against these types of policies. I think we as a party also have a role in pushing our legislature to pass legislation that also helps control taxes and lower taxes and control spending. and decide who and who can't have benefits, from public dollars. I think the party has a role not really just at the picket line, but also in Austin as we advocate for legislation to make real change. I don't want the party to be about me. I don't want the party to be about my personal agenda or who I choose to picket or focus on that day. I'm going to take my direction from the platform and the SREC. And where they tell me to march, we'll march. And we'll do it not only locally, but we can do it in Austin, and we can make real, lasting change in Texas. That's the role of the party, not just to support a personal agenda.
Let me tell you why we are where we are, folks. Those races, the mayoral races, the city council races, the school board races, are nonpartisan races. I might just say they're nonpartisan in name only, because they are very partisan, but the challenge has been that the party has taken a position in the past, and I'm not trying to be critical of anybody, the party's taken a position in the past, they're not Republican-Democrat races, so we're not involved. But what's happening on a statewide basis, statewide we control every race, every position in the state. You all know that. We control state budgets, state funding, we control all that. Where we are having trouble is in city council, taxation situations, mayoral things, the thing that Jared had articulated so well. You go out there and they've got these ordinances they're passing. Let me just say, first of all, as a sidebar, I do not think that the RPT should ever get into a lawsuit against the city on an ordinance. That's not our place as a party. But what we can do, we have got armies of volunteers, we have got armies of donors. We can get involved in local races. If I'm, as your chairman, if the SREC says, yes, this is something we need to get involved in, I promise you we will get in full guns. The trick is to make sure we don't do things to help one Republican against the other. So if we have two Republicans, then we help both Republicans. But that's the answer is a very, very sound, strong yes.
In the interest of further mixing it up, we're going to start with Tom, go to Wade, and come back this way. One of the reasons is, I've been told the candidates say, well, if we go in a sequence the same, one person's always following somebody else. And this way we're mixing it up so they each have a chance to start first and go from there. Cheryl.
Okay.
This will be, okay, Tom, you're first, and Wade, and we'll come back.
Most people agree due to caller ID, telephone banks are not as effective as in the past. In what ways would you improve our use of social media in campaigning?
That's a great question. It's not just phone banks. That's not just the problem. We have problems. Anybody here believe we have problems with newspapers and reporters that don't adequately quote us? We always have a huge problem. I don't think we've even scratched the surface of our ability to tap social networks. That's the way that we get people who are like-minded to us on our team and begin to communicate with them. I think the party has a presence right now. It's a fraction of where we need to be. We need to look at all the different avenues. And I realize that Facebook is something that maybe the older generation now, including me, has embraced more. And the younger generations do Twitter and other issues, and we do it all. The party has got to be fully engaged in every one of those areas and reaching out. You mentioned something about caller ID. I know that happens with respect to fundraising. Some of our phone calling money is not being raised as well. We have a long way to go as a party when it comes to raising money online. And I've been talking to Kristen Evans, who's the finance director, about changing the way that grassroots money is being done. Right now, you have to use a credit card. The credit card expires. Guess what? You fall off the rolls. If you're a grassroots member, and I am, I hope that everybody in this room is, but we have an issue. We've got to correct that. We need to set up where people can log in online, have their account, and manage their subscriptions, and also manage their donations. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad there's more attention paid to social media nowadays. I think phone banks still work, but the demographic it works for is shrinking. I think direct mail works, but the demographic it works for is shrinking. Social media, in a lot of ways, is a way to cut across all the demographics. In Dallas County, we've been using social media for the last 3.5 years. If you follow me on Twitter, at Wade Emmert, I've got almost 5,000 followers. You can follow me on Instagram, at GOP Chair. Of course, I'm on Facebook. I'm on SoundCloud. I got a lot of different accounts, and we use those because that's where a lot of the discussion is. If we want to engage the next generation of conservative voters, we have to have the dialogue where they are. And where they are is in social media, and it's where I've been for the last 3.5 years. It's not just social media, though. We could leverage text messaging. In Dallas County, we had, during this last election cycle, a text message system. You could text the word vote GOP to 313131 and get alerts from the county party. We've incorporated that into our email system, so we have coordinated emails and text messaging and social media. There are a lot of things we can do to improve our reach. Grassroots today is not only knocking on doors, it's also being online where people want to be heard. I've done that in Dallas County, and as RPT chair, I'll continue.
Now, I think it's extremely important that we be on social media, Facebook, Twitter, but I will tell you, this may not give me many votes, but I am a technological idiot. I really am. So I apologize for that. But I can hire a geek, and I can hire a geek. I'm just kidding. And so I can tell you what the RNC has done. One thing the RNC has done is we have voter scores that we use from 0 to 100. And I can tell you this was very effectively used in campaigns all around the nation. 0 for a strong Republican, 100 for a strong Republican, 0 for a Democrat. And they have consumer data. Everyone in here has a score that you're assigned to. And so the way we used that information was if you were a strong Republican voter, 100 or say 90 or above, then we didn't even send mail to you at all because we knew you were going to vote Republican. We just made sure we got out the vote to you. If you're kind of a half and half, 50-50, then it really guides what kind of mail that we send to you. And so it's very, very technological, it's very, very savvy. And actually, if you have someone who's a 0 who's going to support Obama, for instance, then you're going to send them anti-Obama information. You're not going to send them pro-Republican information because they're not going to vote. So there are ways that you can use this data. The RNC is doing that now. And we can certainly get that to Texas and use that in individual campaigns to strengthen them and have them micro-target who they're going after. Thanks.
Well, I think we absolutely have to be in social media. Obviously, that is the best way to communicate with the younger generation of Republicans, whether that be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whether it be through YouTube videos. We created something called Harris County GOP TV back when I was chairman of the local party. And what we did was create a series of ads on issues and forwarded those on the internet and through social media to like-minded folks and then to folks who were persuadables. I think that's extremely important. But one of the things we can't give up on is our more mature Republicans. We need to bring them into this technology. And what we did was we started holding Facebook training seminars. And the Chronicle came out and they looked at it and they said, well, look, everybody here is 45 years or older. And they looked at that as a bad thing. I said, that's not a bad thing. Isn't it wonderful that these folks who weren't familiar with this technology have said, I want to learn it. I want to be able to communicate through social media with a whole network of folks. And what we're finding now, folks, is that homeschoolers out there, the 300,000 or so, the 270,000 plus that are in private Christian schools, they're willing to get involved in our party because we are communicating with them through social media. And so the whole goal here is to communicate. And we need to use every vehicle at our disposal to do that, and then engage those people and draw them into the party based on issues.
A little cheat sheet here on how we're going to do this. We are going to start with Robin and go to Wade and then come back to Cal Quinones.
What will be your policy, if any, on the disclosure of any, to the full SREC, of any financial or legal relationships that you may have or develop with candidates, office holders, or vendors of the party?
So what is my policy for disclosure of my financial?
Disclosure of any financial or legal relationships with any candidates, current office holders, or vendors of the party while you're chair?
I'll tell you I think for full disclosure, transparency, I think that you should obviously make all of those relationships known. I don't currently have any of those relationships, and so But I think if someone does, they should certainly let everyone know. I mean, I think it's very important to, as far as transparency, you know, there's a certain, we live in such a skeptical society, such a cynical society today, that I think, you know, you have to be open with people and transparent with people and honest with people if you expect to have any credibility. People will not vote for you and they will not vote with your party if they don't trust you. And so, and that's a credibility issue that if you have those relationships, then you should certainly make them known because it's a matter of credibility, it's a matter